to Kill a Fowl. Santos Garcia was his name. He was tall, good-looking, young, extremely successful, and known by many, especially around the 142nd and 147th blocks of a certain street in Spanish Harlem. He was one of their own, and he was Lourdes's latest obsession. But why? Although Santos was one of the greatest catches of all time, or so she thought, her fondness for him wasn't even genuine. The only reason why she had any interest in him was because he belonged to her best friend, Jaritza. Santos was a tad bit older than the ladies, probably about 3 years or so. Lourdes used to think that Santos was the most goofy, lamest dude in the neighborhood. She considered him a nerd, bookworm, and the farthest thing from cool. He was not her type at all. She loved the bold, outgoing, and even the bad boys of the neighborhood. But Santos didn't fit the bill. Jaritza, being an attractive, nerdy girl herself, always admired Santos' intellect and liked to talk to him from the first floor balcony while he stood near the fire escape in front of the dry cleaners. He stood close enough to engage in the conversation, but far enough away for Big Hector, Jaritza's dad, not to catch sight of him. The two developed a sort of puppy love, but it was when Jaritza had finally graduated high school and Santos was in his 3rd year at the city university did their love really blossom. But not only did their love, so did Santos' looks. He was fine. Jaritza wasn't too bad herself. They made a handsome couple. Jaritza went on to be an ESL teacher, and Santos a successful lawyer who worked at one of the top 5 New York law firms, and the money was rolling in. The couple became engaged, and Santos had purchased a Midtown Manhattan brownstone with intentions for it to be their home after the wedding. All the while, as Lourdes watched the prosperity of the young couple, she grew more discontented with her own life. The more her best friend shared stories of romantic trips and expensive gifts from her lover, the more sick to her stomach she became. And while Lourdes continued to smile up in her best friend's face and pretend she was happy for her, her thoughts toward her friend became more negative and then more ominous. The bass of the Congo drums from the loud merengue playing at the bodega next door made her entire abdomen tremble. Lourdes pulled the door hard, making the bell ring, and went inside. She didn't greet the cashier, but walked straight-faced, slow-paced, and directly to the back. She wasn't there for soap, incense, or a prayer cloth. She had visited the botanical the week prior for a consultation, but now she was there for the job. For about 2 hours, until the sun went completely down, Lourdes sat clothed in a black robe, in a circle full of lit candles. She was holding a picture of her best friend's lover in her hand, reciting the words she was told to repeat from the worker. When the sun had fully set and Lourdes was still reciting, the worker started to walk backward around the circle with a squirming, healthy chicken held in one hand by its feet. She then lifted it up over her head and with a sharp knife in the other hand, slit its throat with one swift slice, with the blood splashing onto Lourdes as she sat motionless in the circle. And the worker dripped blood on each of the candle wicks, putting each out until they were all flameless. As instructed, Lourdes followed the rest of the directions given by the worker and hoped to see her plans materialize. She did not know how it would all pan out, But one thing for sure, she wanted Santos all to herself. A few months later, as it was well into the summer, Jaritza had informed Lourdes of her decision to teach abroad for the school year. It was something that she had always wanted to do and figured that it would be the time to do it, since maybe after getting married and then having children, it may not be possible. Lourdes faked happiness and surprise toward Jaritza, but the only reason why she was happy was because she would have the opportunity to have Santos where she wanted him. At first, Lourdes was not aware if the work had been working, but now she was sure that it was. This would be a great opportunity for her to infuse herself into Santos's life, and as soon as Jaritza was gone, she did. Santos blindly wined and dined Lourdes for the next few weeks. It was just a great summer of fun for him, but she had a greater agenda. Lourdes knew her body. She knew she was ovulating, so that night was going to be the night. She showered and shampooed her waist-length deep wavy hair. She moisturized her skin, sprayed on her favorite perfume, and added a few minimalist accessories. Dressed in a strapless fitted nude-colored mini dress, accompanied with the expensive strappy sandals that Santos had purchased her a few days prior, she walked down the steps from her apartment door. Lourdes then quickly remembered that she had forgotten her phone. When she turned around, the high stiletto heel got caught into a crack in the tile of the building stairs, and she lost her balance, tumbling fiercely all the way to the bottom of the old steep steps. Lourdes never woke up in a hospital bed, but when she had awoken, she was no more in this world. Santos never saw Lourdes in her dress that day, as by the time he had known what was going on, the ambulance, who was called by a neighbor who heard the falls and cries, had already come. Lourdes had died in the late summer and was buried in the Seine, and by mid-spring, the handsome couple was united in holy matrimony. The end. And remember, y'all, WDUL, what do you all think? Did the spell wear off, or didn't even work in the first place? Well, I think we all know that Lourdes got what was coming to her. Probably if she was not collecting stilettos at the expense of her best friend's man, she may have still been alive. Well, when you gather help from the dark places, it doesn't produce light, just more darkness. Until next time, y'all, thank you for listening and watching. God bless.